For the tutorial today, I'm just going to show you how I like to attach my backs. Now, there are a few different ways that people attach their backs to get them secure. This is my preferred method. So I like to use Liquid Sculpey. Now, I actually have a theory. I've heard people say this doesn't work for them, and I think it's because you need to have the translucent Liquid Sculpey. Every time I've talked to somebody that says that doesn't work for them, I think they're using the clear. Now, I'm going to get some clear and test this out, but I've always used translucent and it's always worked for me. I've never had one single problem with it. So this is what I'm going to show you today. So you need the translucent Liquid Sculpey, a paintbrush, and a little bit of glue. Now the glue is only to hold it in place while it's baking because this can be a little slippery and they can slide around a bit. So you just want to hold that secure in place while this cures. Also, since I recorded the first part of the video, I have found an excellent new tool that works amazingly, and that are these little silicone brushes. This is the brush that I've used for a long time for things like the translucent Sculpey, and it ruins your brushes. Like, I can never get it out of there right, so I just always use the same one, which is fine if you just have a brush for that, but just so you know, it will ruin your brush. Like, it just gets all gummy and gunky, and you're not going to want to use it for painting after that, that's for sure. But these brushes are silicone, and so they don't actually have any bristles, but you don't necessarily need that because you're just using it to push it around where you want it. So I find that these are awesome for resin and for this Liquid Sculpey, and really awesome for resin because resin will 100% ruin your brushes. So these are great. I've linked them on my Amazon list. So let's get started.
So you just want to bake your pieces just how you normally would. So we're starting here with already baked pieces. I like to drill holes if I need them before I put the backs on because I will cover the entire back with Liquid Sculpey, and I don't necessarily like how the drill goes through the Liquid Sculpey because it's pretty flexible and it's hard sometimes to get a clean hole. So I like to drill my holes first. Now this is totally up to you. So I'll start by just taking a tiny little dab of glue. I'm just using E6000 here. Now, like I said before, this is just to hold it in place while it's baking so that it doesn't slide around on you, and just a tiny bit of glue. And I will let this dry for probably about a half hour before I go ahead and do the Liquid Sculpey. Some people like to let the glue cure for 24 hours or so before moving on to the next step, but I personally don't think that's necessary. And the Liquid Sculpey is really what's going to be holding the earring posts on. So, like I said before, you'll want to make sure to get the translucent Liquid Sculpey. I have a theory that this is the best way to do it, and I'll be testing that in the future. You'll want to get a paintbrush so that you can smooth out the Liquid Sculpey around the whole back of the earring. And then you'll just take your Liquid Sculpey and squirt it on the entire back of the earring. Now, some people just do it around the base of the earring post, but I prefer to have the whole back of the earring have the same texture. And I really like how the translucent Sculpey makes a really nice, smooth, matte, soft texture on the back of the earring. So I'll take it and squirt it all around. Once you do this a few times, you'll get used to how much you should put on there. As you can see here, I put way less on these little smaller ones, because the idea is you just want a smooth, even layer across the whole back. You can see that the Liquid Sculpey is already starting to settle and even out a little bit. So we'll just take our paintbrush now and smooth it out to the edges of the pieces. I just carefully go around that hole I drilled, and if you get some in there, you can just take a toothpick and stick it through there to get it out. Or if you inadvertently bake it with it in there, you can just drill right through it. It's not a big deal. But you can see it's nice and smooth across the back of it. As it sits for a minute and settles, and while it's baking, it'll smooth out into a nice smooth finish.
The most important thing here is to make sure that the liquid Sculpey is entirely covering the post of your earring. You want to make sure that it is embedded into the liquid Sculpey and it's covering the entire thing. So as I finish the rest of them up here, you can see that it's spread out nice and evenly. It's sort of self-leveling. Sometimes you'll see a few tiny little air bubbles, and I like to just take a toothpick and pop those. If you miss some, it's really not too big of a deal. It's the back of the earring. So now it's time to bake. I bake at about 265 for another half hour. My oven does say 275, but it is about 10 degrees off. So I like to bake it at a little cooler temperature for 30 minutes. And when you take them out, you'll see that it's got a really nice, smooth, matte finish. It's almost soft to the touch and it's really comfortable against your ear. Now there are several ways to attach your posts, but as you can see here, I can really move that and it's not going anywhere. This is the method I like the best. I'll share some other methods too, so you can decide which works the best for you, but this is my go-to.